Welcome to the third edition of WOMXNAIRE. You're going to get to meet my friend Amelia Fulgham. We go back 10 plus years. And I remember when I first met her, I was so impressed. She told me how she had grown up in Michigan, quit her full-time job, moved to Chicago to start a business where she knew no one, and it was self-funded. Today, it is a 7-figure business. She's going to share how she did that, not just as a woman in the healthcare industry, but a Black woman. What really impressed me was how she differentiated herself in her industry from all her competitors. She's also going to talk about how she continues to grow year after year and stay relevant to all of the clients she's made along the way. Amelia, I'm so excited to have you be a part of WOMXNAIRE. We were part of the National Association of Professional Women. I was running the Chicago chapter, and Amelia came to an event at the tail end of her membership, and we just became good friends right away. And I know we definitely connected even more when we started to realize that we were both late night people. Everybody else is asleep and we're on the phone talking to each other. You worked in an industry for a company, and at one point started to realize like you could do this on your own. Why should you be making money for somebody else? And you moved to Chicago from Michigan, started your own business, not having a network down here. So you really grew the company from the ground up. Tell us a little bit about that experience and exactly what your company is and what you do.
Well, I worked in the industry for 14 years with a company out of Michigan that does the same thing I do. The owners were still fairly young as vice president and knew that there was really nowhere room to grow. So I just kept thinking to myself, you're doing it for them, so you could do it for yourself. So they were, excellent bosses, like family. I had a great career with them, provided a great lifestyle. I had no complaints other than I didn't have any room to grow. I had been coming to Chicago, and my father is from Chicago, and I just had memories as a kid and decided to start coming for the weekend with girlfriends and looking, and I noticed that the city had changed. So around 2008, the economy went flat. All the friends that I had were in the auto industry, and they were moving because the auto industry and the homes were going tankard. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to come to Chicago. I'm going to cash my profit sharing out. I'm going to cash my 401 out. I'm going to take out what I have in the bank, and I'm going to come here and I'm going to start my own agency and believe in myself. And so I did. And then several times I was like, should I have done that? But every time I thought I made a big mistake and I should probably go back and try to get my career back there, someone would show me that it was time to be here. You were very much a connector way back then. I just had a really good vibe from you, and I thought, you know what, this is the person that I need to connect with. She knows the city. She knows the people that I need to connect with, and we talked. We went out to eat. You spent a lot of time with me and just trying to find out about my company, what we did, what I needed. Actually, you were the first person to kind of connect me with a lot of different organizations, and at that time, you had so many networking events. I swear, I think like every month we were having some kind of event. So I was able to expand and network. And I realized, just like in Michigan, you have to step out and network in order to get connected, in order to do anything here in Chicago.
All about who you know. Yeah.
That was my lesson. That was my first lesson that you taught me, was that. The second one was LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Yes, the power of LinkedIn. It's such a great tool for connecting. Yes. And I love that you have just used it and maxed it out, but doing it in a way that's so authentically you.
I'm not on any type of social media. I just didn't believe in it, but somehow you got me to come to a class that you had and decided I'm going to get you on LinkedIn. And so you helped me set up my profile. You kind of talked me through and taught me the understanding of LinkedIn. Every evening I would get home and I would just start linking in to people in my industry. And then I got to a point where I called you and I remember saying, okay, once they connect back with me, Megan, what do I do? What do I say now? I just don't want to say, hey, I need to meet you. So you came up with some clever ideas on what I needed to say to get that conversation. And we kind of created steps and processes on how to get that conversation going until you're able to meet with them.
Yeah.
And so for a full year, I did that. And then the following year, all those connections kicked in.
I can't even think about how many times you've called me and you're like, I just had a meeting with this person and I met him on LinkedIn.
And I still do today.
All right, so let's go back and talk more about your business. So you came to Chicago, you started the company, and you started building a network. What was the next step then? Because I know you have a business partner. So how did you go from solopreneur to business partner?
So I have a skilled nursing agency. We provide in-home rehabilitation for people that have left the hospital or broke a hip or need to be rehabbed at home. So my staff are RNs, LPNs, social worker, master social workers, occupation therapists, physical therapists, and certified nursing assistants. And I had a consultant, and we were going through the credentialing process. The state here, of course, everyone knows, takes a little while. She told me in a year. 3 years later, surveyor walked in, and it happened to be, we passed, and it was on my mother's birthday. And I cried so much, and I remember the consultant like, why are you crying? I was like, you just don't understand. But I felt like it was like my mom saying, well done. I realized that my background is in marketing and business management. I needed to be out there in the industry, out here in the streets, out here connecting. I needed to either hire a full-time director of nursing or create a partnership with someone. So since I didn't know Illinois at all, I started asking some of my nurses if they knew a director of nursing that was really good. And they introduced me to my partner today. And I thought, you can have 100%, but 100% doesn't mean anything if you're not bringing in the revenue and making the things that you need to do and the business is not running efficiently. And I am not a clinician. So I gave 30% of my business away for sweat equity. Now I have a partner.
Wow.
And she's the RN. She's a nurse practitioner now. And that's how we created Physicians Prefer Home Care.
Wow, that's powerful. Okay, so that 3 years that you were waiting for the green light, were you working with clients during that time?
In skilled nursing, you work with clients, but you can't bill. That's what the surveyor part comes in, is so you can't bill. So you have to have a certain amount of money in the bank to run the business. It can't be a loan or anything like that. It has to be yours. They trace it with your social security number. And then you use that money. So you run the business and you have staff. So you run the business as if you're making money, but you're not. You're having to service patients so that they can see when they come in their survey and if you know what to do, and the documentation has to be according to the standard of the state and your accrediting body.
For 3 years, you weren't making any revenue.
Making any revenue at all. I did consulting, but I did it at a minimum wage because I didn't want to mess up my unemployment. So I consulted with another home care agency and helped create their marketing information and their package and train their marketing team. And I remember only getting paid $12 an hour.
Wow.
And I figured out that. But I can tell you that entrepreneur is really difficult, and I had to really make a decision, the purpose of why I came here. So I went from like being up here, having a really great career, credit score really good, to being down here. And I remember the consulting saying to me, you'll get it back. Your credit score and everything like that will come back. Just trust me in this industry. And it did.
Well, I love that you said that, because that's one of the things that I really focus with the Powerful Partners Forum members, really tapping into that why they're doing what they're doing. What is the purpose behind their work? Great. It's a great product. It's a great service. You love working with your clients. But at the end of the day, there has to be something bigger to get you out of bed in the morning and make you want to go through all of these challenges of being an entrepreneur and to keep you going. So what was your why?
I knew as a young person, I've always been a leader. I knew what I had done for my boss. I saw the results there for the 13 years that I worked with them. So I knew that I could do it here. But what I didn't understand is when I came to Illinois, I didn't understand that you definitely have to know people. Because doors just don't open up because you're knowledgeable. It takes a village. I was really passionate about it, and I believed in myself. And that's the main thing. If you believe in yourself and you really realize that you're passionate about it, it's not a job, it's something you love doing, you'll succeed.
you have to have passion if you want to be an entrepreneur. You
Okay.
can't get in it for the money. It's
No.
nope, that's not going to happen. Or the freedom. I mean,
Yeah.
freedom, people think, being an entrepreneur, great, I don't have a boss anymore, but there's definitely a lot of freedom that you give up
Yes.
to be an entrepreneur.
Yes, you do. It has its pros and cons.
Yes, but it's so fulfilling at the same day because it's something that you built on your own.
When you don't have the passion and you do it for work and the other purposes, that's when it becomes very difficult because the revenue doesn't always come in a year. It may not come in 2 or 3 years.
Mm-mm.
It may not come into that 5th or 6th year.
Yep.
They say. Yeah.
That's what I experienced. And everybody told me that in the beginning. And I was like, nah, I'll do it in 2 years. Nope. Just 5. What were some of the significant actions or choices that really helped propel your business to that 7-figure mark?
One was creating a partner. I remember hearing Bob Johnson say one time, you could have 100% of a business, but doesn't mean that it's going to be 100% successful. It's better to have 10% of something successful that is bringing in revenue than 100% that doesn't bring anything. I wanted to have a partner, someone that was engaged in it and just as passionate about it, and that was going to somehow have some of the same work ethics that I do. Then we realized we came with different strengths and weaknesses. We both had the grit that we could make the business propel and make that $1 million.
What were some of the things that you did to ensure this was the right partner for you?
Well, nothing's really ever for sure in life. First thing I went on is my gut feelings when I met her. I really respected her and her husband and their relationship. They'd been married for quite some time, which told me that she had the grit to go through and complete some things. I really liked and bonded with her 2 kids. They were very respectful. They respected their parents. They were younger. That showed me how they kind of run their household. Mm-hmm. And then the way they valued their family and their relationship, which said to me that she probably would have that same toughness and grit with me too in our business also. So she was a no player. She was about her license. She worked hard for it. She came from nowhere and worked to get it. And so she valued her license because her license was the license that was on the board for the agency.
You put a lot of trust into her.
Yes.
And not just, not just in giving the percentage, 30% of your business away, but putting all that trust in her because that's what you have to have in order for the business to continue running.
At that point in time, I said, you know what? I am a marketer. I'm the one that brings the business in, and I have to have a level of comfort. If I had someone that just worked for me, they might just want to get a check. And they could jeopardize me with my MPI number. We met with the attorneys. We talked long days and long nights. And we knew we were going to probably butt heads because it's just like any other relationship. You're going to have differences, but it's how you get through the process.
What's the biggest challenge you've had to overcome as a woman entrepreneur?
In Chicago here, it's segregation. Trying to be in 100 places at one time in order to generate the business and having a network. When you're new coming somewhere, you don't know anyone.
What are some of the experiences you've had as a Black woman in the industry?
A lot of the bigger organizations say that they have a diversity department, but they really don't give you the opportunity to do business. I found that you had to be extra on top of your game. You had to know a whole lot more to be impressive. Where someone else could just kind of come in and bring their portfolio, I had to bring the portfolio and then be able to explain all the different services and why our services connects together and why doing business with my business would be a benefit to their practice or to their patients.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Something I really look at closely now is their diversity claim on their website, but then I actually go and do the research and look at their executive team and what is that level of diversity amongst their executives. And usually there isn't much diversity there. And those are companies I don't do business with. They're just perpetuating the issues that we are dealing with.
I had to learn how to speak up and demand a seat at the table as a minority and a female-owned company. So now when I network or market, I'm like, I'm minority and we're female-owned. And they go, then they want to respond and give an opportunity. And then with the years of being in business, 12 years, that says something we're sustainable. We're in the heart of the city for a reason. We want to serve the underserved senior population. We want them to see people of color like us that are nurses, physical therapy, occupational therapists in their communities. I want to bring economic wealth in those communities because my staff that lives in those communities will spend their money in those communities.
Mm-hmm.
So we really focus on hiring in those areas where they're not afraid to go see the patients because they were either raised or they have family in those communities, so they're comfortable with it. I do speak about that when I'm talking to CEOs or people that are decision makers, and then they get it. We're making a difference in helping healthier people living in those communities, teaching them the right way to eat, teaching them if there are food deserts, how to pour off the processed syrup on the green beans, and then how to rinse them out and add your Mrs. Dash to it, and then still be able to eat healthy.
Wow. I love that. That's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about helping women entrepreneurs scale their business, gain economic power, because women business owners care about how they're showing up in the community, the impact they're making, what their team members are experiencing being a part of that company. Not to say that men don't, but I know that women, their level of care is a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And it just makes me so happy to hear that that is a big part of your company as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love thinking that, you may not be able to do a whole lot, but you can do something, and something's better than nothing. To one owner that runs several nursing homes, he said, what I like about your agency? I said, what? He said, you're a boutique style. Every patient that comes to my agency, if it's with my vendor, they meet me first.
That's a level of customer service that, a lot of companies don't have.
Yeah. And you know what I did? I focused on my top 20. Instead of being in 50 different places, I wanted to be in 20 different places. And I wanted those decision makers to know me, and I know and understand how they work. I had my note on each vendor, like what was special about them, what they needed, who was the key decision maker, what food they liked for lunch, what they didn't want to eat, things like that. Once I learned to understand my specific target market, I was able then to create that niche. Even if they were working with someone that was in my industry, I knew sooner or later I would end up getting the business.
Walk me through how you build that relationship. What are some of the things that you do in the very beginning to, number one, get your foot in the door, but also to learn those things about them? Like, what do they like for lunch? All these special, unique things that make the relationship valuable.
First of all, I either research, or if someone has kind of given me a lead, I might go onto LinkedIn and look at them and learn a little bit about them before I go in. If it's a connection with someone, I utilize their name to open the door and say, I would like to just get 10 minutes of your time to stop by, bring some information, learn about what's important to you when you're working with a home care agency, and what do you like with the agency that you're working with, and what do you like least. And so once I get that appointment to come in, I might just bring something, a little token to them. If it's breast cancer month, I might bring something in pink that kind of breaks down the barrier. I try to wear something that's conversation piece. So of course, I love heels. I wear heels. So usually it's the heels that kind of breaks down the barrier. How do you walk in those heels? Or those heels are different and unique or something like that.
That's just smart.
Kind of, shooting the breeze. And then once we kind of have something uncommon, I'm able to then just kind of be myself and authentic with them. And now we're able to talk about their business. I listen to what their business is. And then I listen to how I can help their business and make her job easier. And as I'm taking my notes, I'm thinking about how I can work as a partner into that, how I can kind of change the dynamics of what's negative with home care. So once we kind of get that understanding, I'm like, listen, with me, I don't want you standing at a fax machine and faxing me all these paperwork and the patient's notes. All you need to do is call me with the patient's information, a date of birth, and a social. I'll have my office, my intake coordinator, run it, make sure that the patient qualifies for services. If the patient does, I'll call you back. If the patient doesn't, I'll still call you back and let you know. Then what day works for you? I'll come in, I'll get the paperwork, then I'll go see the patient. And when I go down to the patient room, I'm introducing myself in the company. Now I'm kind of there to answer questions that the patients may have. I want the patient to understand the process, what to expect when they're going to be in home care, because I want the patient to get the best results.
It really is a boutique service. Yeah. You talk to the decision maker and the actual client. That's incredible. And really build that relationship and make them feel comfortable and taken care of.
People purchase or do business with you first, the contact person, and then the service falls in place. By me being engaged through that process, if there's an error or mistake or something happens, which it will because it's human lives, bring it to me. Let me resolve it, because I'm the person that you build a relationship with, that you met. You don't really know my company. You don't know the nurses. You don't know anything. You know me. So I want to be accountable. I don't want to just turn you over to the office and then you get a call, or you call with an issue and you're on hold. Call me directly. Here's my cell phone number, and give me your cell phone number. And then I usually just tell them, if you have someone that you've been working with and nothing is broke, just give us one patient. Give us the worst patient that you may have and see what happens.
Wow.
So,
that's great. I love that. So you ask for the business. That's another key part, right?
Yeah, I ask for the business. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even if it's just that one, because then you have to prove yourself. And so then once we get that one, I let my team know that's going to be on. We got this one chance to get it right. So make sure we do a great job like we always do, but make sure we stay engaged with the patient.
That's great word of mouth for you too.
Yeah. I don't ever tell people I'm the owner, because I do the marketing.
I love that. Yeah, because it's not about you. It's about them.
And once I was able to do that, Megan, my partner was running the office and making sure the clinicians were doing what needed to be done and we're meeting the guidelines. I was able to really focus on those accounts. We were able to then scale to that $1 million, because I created that niche. And I knew that with that niche, there was not an agency. I don't care if it was one of the bigger agencies. I don't care if they had the technology that we couldn't afford because they were big and they had a huge board, but they didn't have that boutique style and they didn't have that personal style, and they weren't taking care and really making themselves available. That's the key thing. You have to engage yourself to know your business, know your competitors. Even if you don't have the technology, the IT, are there other ways that you could compete against them?
Now that you've reached this level at your business, 7 figures and growing, because I know you started another business too. I want you to talk a little bit about that. What is important to you?
To be sustainable with the changes. Insurance plans and healthcare has changed so much that you have to do a lot of work to be able to sustain and make revenue. You have to do even more than what we were doing before. And the reason for it is because there's been so much fraud in the industry, that companies are doing things the shortcut way, they're doing things the wrong way, that companies are doing things the right way, get penalized. But now that I've reached that figure, now with the COVID, it's basically starting from ground all up again. I've had to revamp how I continue to reach out to my decision makers, because you're not able to go into the hospitals and see them. And you know what they say, out of sight is out of mind. You now have to be a little bit more creative to stay present.
What are some of those things that you've done to really stay significant now that you can't go to see your customers in person?
I worked with a marketing design person and created like a flyer. I emailed that to them and I talk about, we're available. Here's where staffing is at. If you need staffing, here's our specialty that we do. Just call me. So when they call, whether it's an insurance plan that we're in the network or not, if we're not, I still reach out to that social worker, because that social worker may come across an insurance plan that we're involved in. So when I get something like we're not in, say, for example, Cigna right now, and they'll send over on the software system and saying, hey, we have a patient that's in Cigna, can you take? No, we're not in a network. But then I turn around and then call her back and say, hi, it's Amelia, blah, blah, blah. However, these are the insurance plans that we are in network with. And they're like, oh, okay. So I'm able to take that, turn it around, make it positive. And it gave me a name, a phone number, and an extension of a social worker or case manager that makes decisions to be able to present over the phone and then talk about what plans we do have.
That's great.
Yeah.
Look at different ways to build a business. Tell us a little bit more about the business that you just recently launched.
I started a transportation company, not emergency transportation company. We were realizing, as I was talking to some of the other vendors that I do business with, I said to them, listen, one of the factors that's happening is people can't get to their doctor's offices. People don't have the money. The family, children at home either don't have cars, transportation. What could we do to be able to make sure these patients get to their doctor so they stay healthier, or get their COVID shot, or get the food that they need? I went to 3 other guys and I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this transportation company. Will you guys come on board with me? And they were like, absolutely, let's do it. So when the COVID shut down, we were still grinding it and coming up with the business plan, creating and filing the business paperwork. 6 months will be the end of this month. We've been really, really good. I get the contracts, and our biggest contract I got on LinkedIn. I saw the lady on LinkedIn.
Wow. And
I researched her company, and I said, I'm going to go for it. Megan's going to be proud of me. And I talked about her executive team were like about 15 women. And I was so impressed when I saw that. With everything that's going on, diversity and inclusion, I am just impressed that your executive board are women. I'm like, go, go, go. And I said, I would love the opportunity to speak with someone in credentialing. I would love to have my transportation work with your company. It'd be an honor. And then the next day I was riding down the street and I got a call. And she said, you must have spoke to our CEO and someone else, because they were like, call this woman.
Wow.
She was like, they were so impressed with your LinkedIn message. And she goes, and on top of that, you called one of the executive and left a voicemail message. And I said, I did. So I went to the whole panel that worked for the company, and there was one African-American woman. I called and I saw her name and I called, and you know how they put the number of the last name? I left her a voicemail message. Her name was Etta. And I'll never forget that. And she also called HR too and said, call this lady. So not only did the CEO, but so did the other executive.
True networking, Amelia.
Yeah.
Literally like doing the research, finding the CEO, reaching out to the CEO directly, but sending a personalized message that really meant something to her. You know, you took the time to look at her executive board and really spoke to that.
I was like, I laughed. I said, Megan is going to crack up laughing when she realizes what she's taught me. I am like a beast at this now.
You are.
I was screaming and I was laughing. I called my partners like, oh, you guys will not believe this. I'm like, they called me back. They go, what did you do? So I explained it to them. They're like, no, you didn't. I said, yes, I did. I went on LinkedIn. I go, that stuff works. You just got to have the right stuff in what you say.
You are the owner of 2 businesses now, and in both businesses, you have partners. What are some of the things that you've learned about being in partnership and owning a business with other people?
It's about the business at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, really, you become family. So we know our roles, but we are able to fill in when the other one needs help. The benefit of partnership is that you can do more with more minds. You may see something one way. The partner may come and see something another way that you didn't even think about. I enjoy having the partners because you have someone that understands. Because normally if you're married in a relationship, they don't really understand your business, or they don't really want to always be engaged. The family doesn't want to always hear about it. But you need someone or a support group or another entrepreneur to discuss it with. A lot of times when you're an entrepreneur, they're like, why do you do this when you can get a job and get a check every 2 weeks? They don't understand, why is your credit going down to 0 when you can work for someone and you have a degree and bring a check and don't have to. So when you have that partnership like that and someone that's on that same playing ground, it's like a breath of fresh air.
My Powerful Partners Forum members say, every time I ask them, what do you love most about the forum? And they say the exact same thing. It's having a group of people who get it, who understand what you're going through, that you can actually talk to them about these challenges you're having in your business. They actually want to help you get through those challenges and provide you feedback and support in any way that they can. So many entrepreneurs out there, and you see them on social media or their newsletter, and it's the highlight reel. It's all the stuff that's working really, really well. And what that does for other entrepreneurs who are struggling is like, oh my God, am I the only one that is struggling here? Everybody else is doing so well. No. When you can be vulnerable and be authentic and really talk about some of these challenges you're having, that's when that support starts showing up. The right people start showing up in your life, and your clients really want to see you succeed. They want to be a part of your success because they know that this is something that you're building.
One thing that's beautiful about your company is that you have to have that support group because you can cry because they get it.
For minority business owners, it's really difficult for you to get a loan. You're building these businesses by literally taking, your retirement money or your savings and investing that in the business to make it grow. The amount of work and sweat equity that you've put into this business, the risks that you have taken are incredible. It's a whole nother level of challenges that you've had to face. And I just really want to commend you for that. You have built a beautiful business that really impacts your community, that takes care of your clients, has a whole nother level of service where your customers and your client feel like they're taken care of.
We have now 7 vehicles. We started with like, I call the church van. I don't know if you're, grew up in church, you had that long church van,
Oh, yeah.
In the transportation business, we were not able to get any of the loans that were out there because we hadn't been around long enough. And so that was disappointing. I wanted to just, with the transportation company, let people see that African Americans can do this. We can have beautiful, clean vans. Our staff are uniformed. They have name badges. We want our employees to feel like they're part of a family. Our goal is to eventually be able to do business with some of the bigger hospitals and things like that, but yet have a brand, have a reputation, and be proud of what we started and what we're doing too, and build a legacy with it.
I really do want to acknowledge you for the difference that you're making in your community and
Thank you.
The companies that you're building and the leadership that, other women like you can look up to and say, wow, like she did it. I can do that too. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing these WOMXNAIRE interviews. I want other women to see that it's possible to build a 7-figure business, that it's possible to achieve your dreams and create a legacy and make a difference in your community at the same time.
You were working for your dad and you kept saying, I'm going to step out. I'm going to stop working for them and I'm going to start focusing on myself and on my business and what I'm passionate about. I want people to know that you're not just talking talk. You've been in that too. And you've seen that what you do has helped. And I am living proof of that because I remember being at that round table when you were branding it and you were just seeing if it would work. You had like so many women and we were sitting in your house at the kitchen there with food and really going through the process. But to see the outcome of what you do, how it's helped. I tell people, if it wasn't for my friend, I would have not been able to grow my business in another way of marketing and being sustainable for the last 12 years. In June, it'll be 13 years. For that, I'm super, super proud of. And I can tell people you can make the money. You can do it as a woman. It is a lot work, but we have it in us. We do it every day with our family, our kids, our husband. You can do it. If you are brave enough to step out, to do an entrepreneur and create that business license, you're brave enough to go to the end.
Your biggest piece of advice for women entrepreneurs who want to scale to 7 figures?
You have to be able to make decisions. That's real important. Be eager. You have to be eager. If you are being passionate, you're being kind of laid back waiting for it to happen, it won't happen. You have to get out and network. In some type of form or fashion, you have to connect. And you'd be surprised, like in your phone, if you reached out to just people that you know, they might know somebody or know someone that can connect and open the door. Create that team around you, whether it's partnering up so that you stay sustainable and be successful, or getting the support group that you need. And every time you hit the wall, come back with something a little different.